You're listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. All right. Hello. So today on the podcast, we get to chat through all things intuition, one of my favorite topics, and we get to hold space for this conversation alongside Jess Bubbico. And wow, Jess honestly explains intuition in a way that has got to be the most digestible version I've ever heard, and I truly mean that statement, which is also super cool. And honestly, it kind of just paints the energy for this entire conversation because Jess really just makes this topic so relatable. She has this way with words and her energy, and she really just draws you in, but in a way that you're just like able to connect with her so fluidly. I really don't know how else to describe it. So keep on listening so you can get a taste of Jess Bubbico. She is fantastic. And in this conversation, we also get into the ways to understand if our intuition is talking to us, how human design relates to this topic, quantum human design, new paradigm shifting, and so much more. I'm so excited for you all to dive in and get to know Jess's story. But first and foremost, for anyone who might be new around here, I did want to tell you about an exciting new opportunity that I have coming up for this December 2021. If you are listening in real time with us, all of the information on this special opportunity officially releases this current week. But for those of you who are listening right now, just to kind of clue you in on what I'm talking about, I will be hosting a 3-day spiritual wellness experience in Rincon, Puerto Rico, down in the Caribbean, Friday, December 3rd through Monday, December 6th. And this experience will include accommodations at one of Rincon's top oceanfront villas, full transportation throughout the weekend. I'm also especially curating this experience around the new moon in Sagittarius that takes place that Saturday, December 4th, as we will really work on releasing all that is not serving us from the past year, anything that we do not wish to carry with us moving forward into the next year or forward into our lives, while also then looking ahead to what we are cultivating and calling in for ourselves. Whenever we are releasing and creating space, we never want to release and create space and just leave that space empty. It is very important that we are then filling that space, refilling our cup with what it is that we do want, who we know to be true, who we know our true souls to be, and all the things. So when you think about this experience, you can really think soul sisterly connections, daily yoga, cacao ceremonies, meditation, healing circles, live music, sound healing. We will be dancing under the moonlight, bonfires and coconuts and fresh fruit and all the healthy foods. The food in Rincon is amazing, by the way. You will also have time to relax and connect with yourself, connect with Mother Nature. So many more things. This retreat is really set up for you, the individual. So while you will be learning and healing and opening and releasing and connecting to yourself, connecting spiritually, within that also comes having space and having time to do what you please, having time to read a book by the pool if you choose, having time to go take a walk on the beach, get in the ocean. This isn't one of those retreats where you have this like time block schedule and you might leave feeling, while yes, empowered, kind of also tired. This retreat is to really rejuvenate you at a cellular level. So If you are interested in this experience and would like a special discount, this is the last time I will be offering a discount for the retreat as it opens this week. So shoot me a message over at the Britt Olson on Instagram, and that is Olson, Olson. And spaces for this experience, like I said, they are opening up this week. They are going to sell out. That is not a marketing tactic phrase. That is true intentional language, because I have already received so many messages about this retreat, which is super exciting. And yeah, just those who are interested in the group and the energy around it so far are just such like-minded individuals. I'm really just so excited for what this is going to be like. It's going to be amazing. So I would love to connect live with you in person this December. That is December 3rd through the 6th, 2021, down in the Caribbean. Let's all get together, share in community, share in connection, just have so much fun. Which, speaking of fun, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode with Jess Bubbico. Enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Well, Jess, welcome to the podcast. It's truly such an honor to officially connect with you here today and really just kind of, continue our evolution of knowing each other. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking right before we started recording, and I was saying that I feel like our souls have definitely known each other previously. And I truly feel that. I know a lot of my listeners in community, we've been in conversations about when you meet people and you can just feel that natural energetic exchange, and how we've just incurred a lot more of that recently. And I definitely feel that about you. So I know that everyone is just going to love getting to know you better, for anyone who's new to you and your story.
Totally. I love when you meet people and you're like, I know you. Like, I don't feel like I ever didn't know you, even though I think this is one of the first times I've seen you physically. I've seen a couple of, maybe one of your Instagram lives, but I'm like, yeah, we know each other. We go way back.
Totally. Absolutely. I would love to know, before we get started, what are you most grateful for right now?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. As soon as you said that, the first thing that came to mind is just connection. And I don't even want to say came to mind, it came to heart, and I feel a little emotional even saying it. It's just, I just got off of a call with some of my, one of my mastermind groups. And every time I get off, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grateful we agreed to meet in this lifetime. And that I just get to connect with these amazing people and facilitate and develop relationships. And so that's what's on my heart today. That's what I feel grateful for.
I love that. Will you tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of the premise of your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Jess Bubbico, and I believe in a world where the woo is no longer taboo and your weird is your greatest wisdom. And so my work is in really supporting people and opening up to and understanding their intuition and how energy works, and getting connected, with their own intuitive gifts and their own channel. I think that every single person has the ability to tune into spirit, connect with spirit, which I know you believe here on this show as well. And so it's my greatest opportunity to be able to teach people how to harness that gift, tune into energy, connect with their channel, and then use it in a way that really feels right and good and resonant for them. I think we're starting to move out of the common day sort of old paradigm of psychics and intuitives and the way that it used to look, though those are beautiful paths that you can take and certainly directions that you can go in. And what I see happening right now is this doorway and this gateway opening for people to say, I love being able to connect with my intuition, channel, connect with spirit. And here's how I want to share it with the world. Whether you're a hairdresser who wants to, that I know for women, we go to the hair salon and suddenly our hairdresser starts touching our head and all of our secrets come out. How do we channel and harness that energy and actually learn how to work with it instead of carrying it or taking it on. Or I have a client right now who's a matchmaker. How do I actually use this gift to help people clear their blocks and understand where the energy's stuck, old stories, patterns? Maybe they're from past lifetimes. How do we use our intuition, in terms of dating, and how to, connect with people and know when we have these, fear. Sometimes we can have some stuff around dating and connection. How do I learn to trust my intuition in that? So really, again, what I love to do and what I support clients with is opening up that channel and discovering how to use it in a way that really works for you.
Amazing. Thank you. So I have we have a new puppy here. His name is Maverick. He loves to make himself known on my episodes. So
I love it.
We've been getting some puppy energy recently, which is always fun. Always welcome.
It's the energy of playfulness, right? So it's perfect.
It is. Absolutely. Well, that is so beautiful. And I know we'll get into the specifics of your work and everything, but I did want to, because you and I have not talked about this. I actually had a complimentary intuitive reading from, I believe, one of your students or graduates, Johanna is her name, yesterday. And it was amazing. She met me right where I was. The connection was so deep, so genuine, so insightful, completely just opened my heart and gave clarity to a block and an issue that I've been wanting to work through, came up this weekend, etc. But it was absolutely wonderful. And I just think that that experience together pays tribute to her, of course, and her work and her gifts, but then also back to you, because I know she learned from you, went through one of your programs of some sort. I don't know the details there, but it was truly beautiful. So while I have not worked with you personally, I've just been following you, I can definitely attest to the work that you are doing is incredible. So
thank you. I really deeply receive that. It makes me feel a little emotional as you say it too. It's interesting right now. I'm going through my medical intuitive training. So around understanding disease in the body and how it connects to belief systems, how we clear them, how we heal. And it's really interesting because my teacher was speaking about how the days of intuitive readings and healing being separate, like that no longer exists. And it's interesting because with my trainings, I teach around what are the tools for healing? What are the tools for reading? And how do we actually combine them? How do we go into an inner child healing when we find a block? How do we actually teach someone how to journey through the different layers, of reality, the different dimensions, and understand how to heal yourself within those dimensions and all that. So we have access to energetically where we are as a collective right now, we have access to so much that we haven't had access to in the past. And that's why we're seeing people waking up and going, who are my spirit guides? I would love to know about my spirit guides. Or, man, I could feel the energy of this, or I feel called here, or my intuition's pulling me to that. So I think this is such an amazing time to be alive, even though it's challenging and there's a lot of really hard things going on in the world. It's a really amazing time to be able to be on the forefront of this evolution and revolution as it relates to intuition and energy and spirit.
1000%. So let's talk about intuition. We'll kind of move forward there. I'll let you maybe first we'll kind of give the debriefing on it as to what exactly it is for anyone who's maybe not familiar or has seen the term thrown around and is kind of confused, because I know there's a lot of chatter out there and it can get confusing. It's always nice to have it broken down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that intuition can mean so many different things to so many different people. And I might go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, so pull me back if I need to. To me, there's different forms of intuition. And so when I think about intuition to me is knowing something and not necessarily having physical proof of evidence of it in your, with your 3D senses and what you see and feel and experience in the environment around you and what's happening in your current experience. I think there's all different forms of intuition. To me, we have bodily intuition. And, we could look at this through your intuition communicates with you through your senses, the same senses that you use to perceive this reality in front of you. You know, see my computer screen with my eyes. I can hear you coming in through my earbuds. I can feel the chair underneath me. I can smell what's going on in the air around me. I can taste what, I just had for dinner not that long ago. I can feel the air and the temperature of the air, right? Those are our senses that we use to perceive tangible, dense energy. That's what we look at as space-time reality, right? It's our tangible 3D physical reality. If I want to get up to, Tampa, Florida, it's going to take me 3 hours to get there in my car. If I take I-75 north, et cetera, right? It's very tangible, literal what's happening now. When we start to talk about intuition, the spirit world, energy, we start to move into time-space reality, which everything is happening in the now. If I think about my friend who lives in London that I know I'm talking to on Monday, I can actually sense into and feel into her energy. I can't touch her. She's in London, right? I can't smell her. I can't feel her. But if I actually use my intuitive senses, which are going to use the exact same senses we use to perceive this reality, touch, taste, smell, hearing, sight, etc., I can subtly sense. If I tune into those senses and I think about that person, I can actually sense her. I might be able to feel what she's feeling. I might be able to see what she's wearing. I might be able to kind of hear what's going on with her. Obviously, we want to ask for permission before we do such a thing, but it's because we're tuning into subtle energy, and subtle energy operates in a very different way than the 3D world operates. In this time space reality, everything is happening now. There's no separation between you and I. And all it takes really is us taking a few breaths, slowing down our breath. When we slow down our breath, we start to slow down our brainwave state. When we start to slow down our brainwave state, we start to be able to sense energy and tune into energy in a very different way. So to me, intuition is being able to tune into the subtlety of energy, being able to know something without having physical evidence of it in our 3D reality. Start there.
I love that. That was a beautiful description. I was like, yeah, I was completely there with you. I love that so much. I also, too, it's so fun to have a guest from Florida because I don't have very many guests from Florida. So I did just want to point that out for a second. That's really fun.
Love it.
Yeah. So for anyone who is, new to tapping into our intuition and everything, well, actually, I'm going to table that for a second because I know you play with human design as well.
Yeah.
With these intuitive senses, with I think it's a sense of human design. Is that what it's called? The senses or our taste? Is that what I'm thinking of?
It's your cognition, I think we all each have a superpower sense.
Like mine is smell. I know
Yes.
There's like inner vision. Are our intuitive senses and gifts, and maybe some of like our main ones, have you ever seen a direct correlation with that element of human design?
I have. Yes, I have, because mine is touch, and I am somebody, everything for me is like, I feel it. So it's definitely a sense, I think. I also have been speaking a little bit more to the human design chart and understanding how intuition shows up throughout the human design chart in different ways. So we can look at, we won't go too far into it, but our open centers often pick up on energy. So we can look to our open centers to understand where we're picking up on information and how we're picking up on it, as well as the circuits and the channels and the gates all have their own ways of experiencing intuition as well.
Interesting. So cool. I think human design is so fun. Maybe if we have time, we'll kind of jump into that. Anyway, back to my original question. What are some great ways to kind of start initially beginning to whether tap into our own intuitions or just kind of become more in touch and aware of our intuitive senses?
Absolutely. So here's where I always tell people to start. First and foremost, look back through your experiences. Every single one of us has dated that person that we knew was not the right person for us, or we've known something and didn't know how we knew it. And again, intuition is going to speak to us through our senses. So what I always tell people to do is go back through a couple of defining moments that you've had where you knew something, knew you needed to call someone, knew that that person wasn't right for you to date, and ask yourself, what happened? Did you start having dreams that something was off? Did you, and then go back to the Dream Oracle Holly episode here on the podcast and listen, because she's awesome.
She's amazing. I've been learning from her, and the dream world is so intriguing.
So cool. Go back and say, did you get a pit in the center of your stomach? Did you get sensations and tingles down your spine? And then start to pay attention to that moving forward. And I think this is changing, especially now, but we're so conditioned to ignore our intuition and do what we're supposed to do. So for example, if I walked into school one day as a kid and had this feeling, that some feeling in the pit of my stomach, but my mom was a single mom and had to work her butt off all day long, to provide for us, I couldn't, and I could feel that and sense that as a kid, right? I could feel that she's tired. I can feel all these things. I'm not going to say to her, hey, I don't want to go to school today. Something feels off. Or, I might be conditioned out of that. Or she might say, suck it up. If I had an Italian mom, for anybody out there who's Italian, my mom would be like, suck it up and get your butt to school. Like so many of us, I'm sure. And so we learn, and then maybe you get to school and something happens, right? Something that kind of proves why you were getting that tummy ache gets proven correct. And so we're so often conditioned out of listening that I would say, start to pay attention to what your body is telling you. And again, that might be through thought, that might be through dream, because claircognizance is another one. It's just a thought that just drops in your head and you're like, oh, I don't know why I should call Tom, but I'm going to call him today. Pay attention to your senses. And I always tell people, get the notes section open in your phone and start to write down these little intuitive hits that you get. Had a stomach ache, went and saw my friend. She was really upset that day, knew where the stomach ache was coming from. Like she had bad news, for example, or had a dream that this happened, and just start to jot it down, because your intuition, by you paying attention, is going to start teaching you how it speaks to you by you listening. And so if you start to see this trend, like, oh, these thoughts pop in, they just feel like thoughts, and then they come true, you're going to start paying attention to your thoughts more.
Totally.
And notice the vibration of them as well. Does a certain thought, when it's an intuitive thought, feel a different way than maybe a panicked thought feels? Does a panicked thought come with a little bit of anxiety in it versus an intuitive thought just feels like a fact, just like me saying my name is Jess, so note how they come in and what they feel like.
I love that. I had that one time with a potential career change where I had accepted a new job, was going to move out to California, had already given my notice at my current employer, and had not actively started the move or transition yet. And literally woke up one morning and was like, I can't take this job. Can't do it. Had to try to explain. And I was like, I literally cannot explain this, but I cannot do this. And my parents were so, everyone was so confused. My current employer actually ended up letting me stay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing you paid attention.
Mm-hmm. And then a few months later, I got an offer and ended up moving up to New York, which was a very pivotal and necessary experience of my journey. So it's
amazing. Isn't it so interesting? And it's as you're speaking, it's making me think about an experience I had. I had a job when I lived in North Carolina that was awful. It was a super abusive. The woman who owned the company, she had some really serious mental challenges. People were leaving left and right. I think the turnover rate was every 3 to 6 months. They had a completely new staff.
It was in a similar place.
Bad. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how you're staying open. It was really terrible. But what's interesting is, as I'm saying this, I'm reflecting on it. And I went water skiing out we were in Carolina Beach, and I ended up getting, just before that job, it was like the week before the job started, I wiped out and had awful whiplash. And I'm thinking about all of the signals that my body was giving me that it wasn't right, that I was ignoring because my mind was like, this is a good this is a good opportunity, or I'll be able to get out of this situation that I don't really, I was in speech therapy. I didn't really want to be a speech therapist at the time, but I was like, I'll be able to get out of this situation that I'm in and do something different. And so I think our body speaks to us in so many ways, even if it seems like it's an accident that happens or something. It's like, slow down and pay attention, because the linear thinking mind will be like, oh yeah, I just got whiplash, I'm good. It's like, what could I have maybe heard if I had slowed down and listened to it, instead of just ignoring it and priding myself on how tough I am or whatever it may be.
Yes. So I'm going to share a story about my husband because he's given me permission to share about him. His guides and his intuition and just everything, they take him down physically when he's not listening. But to that point, a couple weeks ago, maybe it's been a month ago, I guess now, he broke his collarbone mountain biking in a bicycle crash. It was just him, had completely finished his ride, was on the trail headed back, and suddenly goes right over the handlebars, shatters his collarbone. It was a massive break. He had to end up having surgery on it, etc. And kept asking him. He's like, I literally feel like someone put a stick in my tire. And he had not been listening to himself. He needed to slow down. There were some patterns coming back up and just a lot of those things. And he was like, okay, I get it. He's like, I know what you're going to say. I was like, I don't have anything to say. It's just crazy because he's had different illness diagnoses and just, I mean, they literally take him down physically so hard when he's not listening. But it's such a prime example of what you were just describing.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the thing I guess that's the thing I think is like, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, like whether you believe in divine intervention and you believe in guides or you don't, there's always a point where you can say to yourself, thank God. I thought that was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And thank God that it happened, because it was divine intervention of some kind. Right. And so it's like, we have these defining moments where we don't take a job opportunity and we listen to ourselves, or we get taken out by an illness or an accident or something. And we're like, oh man, it was exactly what needed to happen. And I think that's the beauty of where we are in evolution now, is we're getting to this point where we don't always have to learn the lesson the hard way, if we just give ourselves permission to listen and make a new choice.
Yeah. I just made a connection myself that I'm not going to share publicly on here, but so fun. So I would love to learn a little more about your own intuitive journey. And I know it was kind of a bunch of events and then also following your intuition that led you to your current line of work and all that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share. And a lot of it comes from having not listened to my intuition for a very long time. So you're sitting here going, I don't really know. I don't know. You'll learn. We all have the ability to learn it. To me, learning to connect with your intuition, like I'm sure you know, is like learning French. If you don't know French, like you have the ability to master it as long as you put the time and the energy in. So I was born on the same day as my mom and my grandma. So we're all born March 22nd. Yeah, all three of us. And so it wasn't planned. My grandma was a peasant farmer basically back in Italy. I don't know. I'm sorry, grandma, to say peasant, but like they were farmers. She had a third grade education, so there wasn't any planning, where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to have a kid on my birthday. It was just, I think it just happened. Long story short, when I was a kid, I always had a connection to people who had crossed over. And I had these experiences, especially right around when I was in the 7th grade. A lot of people died, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, middle school time. A lot of people passed away. And I would have these strange experiences where I felt like I was still connected to them, or I had a visitation, or I could feel their energy. And I never really had proof that it was real, but I never stopped believing in it. And it was just always sensitive, and I kept the door open to it. So when I was, I want to say 15 or 16, my grandmother was killed by a drunk driver. She was walking across the street, and being that me and my mom and grandma were all like, my grandma was very intuitive. My mom's extremely intuitive. And so I feel like I think families have similar gifts throughout. Like my roommate, her family has vivid dreams. Like they all dream. And it's so to me, there's like this kind of lineage that happens with our gifts and the way they come through. And so when my grandma passed, my mom had some PTSD from the event because she had seen her right after she was, in this accident. And so my mom kept saying, Jess, I can't have dreams about grandma. Like I want to be able to have dreams about her, but I can't dream about her. I think just because of what she had seen happen. So what I called at the time, I would pray to my grandma at night. So I would lay in my bed and I would lay on my stomach, and I would because I was scared shitless at the same time. Am I allowed to swear here?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was scared shitless, and I'm like, I don't know if this is real, but I'm going to hide from it while I do it. So I would talk to her, and she said to me, I said to her, I could feel something sitting on my bed, rubbing my back. And I'm thinking, I'm crazy.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm feeling this, and I'm like, okay, we're going to test this out. Grandma, if you're here, mom wants to have a dream about you. Go visit her in her dreams. Well, I get up next day to go to high school. I walk down the stairs. My mom goes, Jess, I had this crazy dream. I was looking through a keyhole into your bedroom, and I could see grandma sitting on your bed. And I'm like, well, this is crazy, because she was sitting on my bed, rubbing my back, and I was talking to her. So it was this like moment of divine confirmation that I knew that this was actually something. And so from there, I kind of kept the door open, but I went on my trail of academia. I was a speech therapist. I was into brain injury and concussion and science and the body and nutrition and all this stuff. And I ended up going into speech therapy. My first day at my job, I was like, nope, can't do this the rest of my life. There's no way I can work for somebody else for 40 years. Loved the kids I worked with, loved the families, loved the content, just knew that it was not the right move for me. I always think to myself, if one day I go back to this and an employer listens to an old podcast, they're going to be like, she said she'd never do this again. So I'm going to never say never. However, at the time, it was not the right move for me. So I ended up starting to study spirituality. I went to a psychic and I said, hey, out in Charlotte, she's a good friend of mine now. I said, I think I can do what you do. I don't know how, but I think I can do what you do. And I ended up taking classes with her. And then from there, people started coming to me kind of saying similar things. Like, I kind of sometimes have these experiences. So I started teaching and mentoring people after I had enough, time learning and studying and doing readings. I just started mentoring people. And then from there, especially knowing my human design now, I'm a manifester, and I am I'm a 4/6. I was like, let's get some classes rocking and rolling and see what happens. So, that's the long-winded story of how I kind of got where I am.
So cool. Oh my gosh. I love that story. Such a fun story. Oh, I love that you're a manifester too. I don't think I realized that. I've had so many manifestors are such a rare type, one of the smaller ones, but I've had so many manifestors come into my life recently. So yeah, my husband's a manifester, but he's been the only manifester I've known for a really long time until like the last week and a half, I think. So
something new is brewing in your life. Then you're about to get ignited into something.
Yeah, must be. I'm a 4/1 generator, by the way.
Gotcha. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 4/1s are fun. That's a really fun profile.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I don't want to say like I love myself, but I do. I don't know. That's kind of the ego in there being like, no, you can't say that. But like, I absolutely can say that. I do love myself. But the more I learn about that 4/1 profile, I fully love it. So
totally. It's such it's a beautiful, just even the way that you're kind of here to be on your own journey, but that fourth line as well, and bringing people together. And I see you've been posting about some retreats and stuff like that on Instagram too, which I think fourth line's bringing people together is a beautiful thing. So
yes, I'm an Aquarius North node as well, which in the 8th house. So it just kind of all blends together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's talk about human design actually for a second, since we're on that topic.
Yeah.
For anyone, so everyone on this podcast is familiar with the 5 types, our strategy and authority, but we were just talking about the profile.
Mm-hmm.
What is that profile specifically for anyone who's unfamiliar, and maybe how does our profile like play into our everyday life?
Yeah. So I think of your profile as the role that you're here to play in the world. And so each of us is here to play a different role, and people expect different things of us. So, we look at I work with quantum human design, which Karen Curry Parker has kind of created a different language, human design language. And, I personally resonate a lot with it. And so when we look at the profiles, we have the one, which it's called the investigator in traditional human design, but it's called the resource in quantum human design. And this is all about laying a foundation for safety and security in all of us. So we look at the investigator likes to go deep. They like to research. They like to explore. They like to, go and kind of do that investigative work to lay a foundation of security for other people. First lines, it's part of the lower trigram, and it's a foundational energy. So again, it's let's create foundation through our knowledge. We have the 2, which in traditional human design is the hermit, but in quantum human design is the responder. And it's about integrating knowledge, energy, and wisdom, and waiting for the readiness of other people to call it out. So the 2 can often be known as the hermit. A lot of people who are 2s I see can be very good at a lot of things. They're naturally good at things, and their knowledge and wisdom gets pulled out of them. They get pulled out of hiding to come and share whatever it is that they love to teach about, speak about, share about. The 3 is I don't really like this word, but the martyr / explorer. Mm-hmm. And the 3 is about exploring and experiencing possibilities and sharing the experiences with others. It's all about not trial and error, but trial and trial as a third line. So about trying things out, not being afraid of failing, knowing that anything that you do is you're going to learn something from it. You're going to learn a lesson from it. You're going to then use that as the fuel of what you teach and share with other people. 4th line, like you and me, we are the opportunist / stabilizer. So this is about laying a foundation of community and connection and preparing the way to share for the sharing and spreading of ideas. So we think about the 4th line as that stabilizer. They can bring people together. Oftentimes it's about finding the right communities to be a part of. And also, I want to say finding the right communities to be a part of, and finding your opportunities through your network is really great for 4th lines. 5th line is the heretic or the visionary leader. So they kind of serve as these karmic mirrors for others, and they are here to support the healing process of other people through reflection, and also by teaching us what's the highest potential for humanity. So I really like the term visionary leader for the 5th line, because I think it sounds really empowering. The 6th line in traditional is role model, and in quantum is the adept. And this is about experiencing, integrating, and demonstrating the highest potential of consciousness on the planet. So it's really about being this role model, this natural role model, through learning, through your life experience, and then showing up as a role model for other people and how to live theirs. So I think when I look at the profiles, I think to myself, it's not necessarily about having to go out and figure out how to do these things. I find that we typically tend to have a naturally lean towards these things. Like, do you find that you're someone who you just like to research, explore, and go deep? Because what you're doing here, you're laying a foundation for other people of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
And then you like to connect people as well with that 4th line, or gather community.
Absolutely love it. Yeah. It's funny because I had always felt maybe conflicted is the word that I would use, just in the sense that I am such a people person and love networking and bringing people together. Like, it's actually funny we're talking about this, because there's 2 people I want to introduce you to if you don't know them, because I feel that y'all are going to connect really well together. But to that point, I literally love connecting people and being out with people, but I can also find a topic I want to learn about and put my head in a book and not come out for 3 days. I just go all in, and equally love that so much.
Yeah. And that's the gift. And that's the thing I think is so important. Like, I don't like doing that, and I think about how all of these, friend is a 1-3, and she does a lot with speaking. And she's like, I've already figured out how you do it. I'm like, thank you. I'd love to give you my money so that you can teach me how to do it, because I don't want to go through that process, but in terms of connecting the right people and getting people together, she's like, not necessarily into that. I'm like, I'm going to connect you with this person and this person and this person. So I think naturally, again, if we would come back to the conversation around intuition, naturally lean into what you like and what lights you up. And that is your gift and the role that people will seek you out for, as long as you allow yourself to do it.
Yes. I love that. In what ways do you feel that you are currently embodying that 4/6 profile and manifestor design type in your life?
Totally. I am absolutely up on the roof. So the 6th line goes through 3 phases. 0 to 30 is trial and error. I definitely jumped off the roof thinking I could fly many times from 0 to 30. And I found out that I can't. And then 30 to 50 is like, you go up on the roof, you create a foundation, you want more stability. I'm definitely in that place in my life. And then 50 plus, you come down from the roof and you're sort of the wise sage, sharing your wisdom that you learned with other people from your natural experiences. And then 4th line, everything I do is community right now. Like everything is community based. I used to do one-on-one, and I've moved completely to group experiences. I love gathering people. I love connecting people with each other. So yeah, that's what I would say with that. And then in terms of the manifester, my program is called Ignite and my other one is called Spark. And to me, it's like, let's ignite people into their gifts. I always say to people, I was just saying to my mastermind group, I'm like, I'm going to throw you into the deep end because I know that you can swim, because I want to get people started and sharing the gifts that they have to share with the world. And so I think for me, I don't waste a lot of time, I guess, and like, not in a pushy way, but I'm like, let's go. Let's make it. I'm almost also an Aries sun. So I am.
When's your birthday?
I am fire.
Oh wait, March 22nd. You said that.
Yep.
I'm April 14th. I didn't connect that you're an Aries. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I'm right on the cusp. I'm Aries, Pisces cusp. So yeah, we've got fire in us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that so much. So speaking about kind of our everyday and the roles we play, in our own waking lives and everything like that, as we are talking about intuition, how does really accessing that, our intuitive, gifts, our intuitive consciousness, et cetera, how does that really play out in like your everyday life?
So funny. I was thinking about this on my way into the shower today. So I'm glad that I listened to it and actually thought it through. I was thinking about this idea of living a 3D life versus living a 5D life. And I don't even know that I necessarily like the terms 3D, 5D, but let's say living this linear logical life and then living this sort of intuitively led life. And I think we need both. We need logic, right? We
love those descriptions, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't totally resonate with the different 3D, 5D, all that. Yeah.
And so I'm like, do I want my life to live by the rules of, again, I know I said it before, space-time reality, where I'm like, it's going to take me 5 years if I want to do X, Y, and Z, versus saying everything's available to me now. Let me learn how to listen to it so I could tune into a new way of doing things, right? And I can get out of my own way. And so for me personally, I've been looking lately a lot at, where do I still believe that it needs to be hard, or that I need to work really hard at something? Not that life's not going to be hard, because guess what? There are always going to be challenges. It does not matter what you do. Sometimes our own biggest challenge is just ourself and our mind and our subconscious mind. So for me lately, it's been this flip of every time that I feel in my body this resistance, or I feel like I don't want to do it in this way, or it's hard, or I have to wait in order to, I've been inviting myself, I don't want to say making myself, to actually go into meditation on it and to talk with spirit about it and ask to be shown and ask how I can see things differently. And so to me, that's the essence of living an intuition-led life. It doesn't mean that I have to every single day have a powwow with my spirit guides before breakfast, but it does mean that I slow down and I ask to be shown a different way, and that I pay attention to my senses in different ways, and I get into the subtle something. Even if, for example, you have taste as your cognition in human design. You said yours is smell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said? Yours is smell?
Yeah.
Even just taking a second when you think about reaching out to that person to like tune into your nose and be like, what does my nose kind of smell? I know that they're a leader in this industry or have appeared in Oprah magazine or like whatever, right? Like whatever we see linearly as being or societally as being like high ranking or something, right? Like, what do my senses say about this person or this thing? And just taking that moment to be like, something smells sour in my nose, or like something in my body feels off, to be able to be like, I'm just going to mark that. And maybe I'm still going to have the conversation with them, but I'm actually going to really pay attention to how that energy feels to me. So to me, that's what leading an intuition driven life is just taking the time to slow down and to tune in to, my friend Kim Garland used to say, what else could be happening here? What else could be here between breaths, between the thoughts in my head, between what I think I'm supposed to do? Let me see what subtly is coming in.
So fun. It's interesting you mentioned that cognition, because lately, whenever I drop into my heart space, I've been doing a lot of just heart coherence meditations and things like that. The smell of fresh pineapple has been popping up, and it's happened consistently multiple times now. And I very water oriented, definitely have a tie to the tropics. All of that, but it's just been so interesting because I've played with my smell and things, mostly with food, of kind of then recognizing signs from my body of like, do I want to eat an apple or a banana, and trying to work in with what my body physically wants. But in tapping in with my heart, the smell of pineapple has been coming up, and it's just been so fascinating to me.
Yeah. The immediate thought that popped in my head, I don't know if this will be helpful or if you've thought of this, but I wonder if it's a certain guide. Have you followed the smell?
Oh, interesting. I have not, but that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe drop in and see what happens, because they'll come to us in all different ways. Because to me, I will know that a spirit is here sometimes if I'm not paying attention to it, because I'll get a whiff of something or a smell will drop in, and they'll all smell like different things. So I don't know, maybe something to think about.
That gives me a lot of things to think about.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so cool about intuition, is that we can learn to actually take something, a piece of information, and turn it into something else. So what I mean by that is, again, because it's not, if I want to I have to pick up my glasses and put them on and like pull the tongs out and put them on my face if I'm going to wear them, right? There's a way that it's done. But when we're working with energy, the rules and laws of energy are completely different. When we're working with subtle energy, I should say. And so you can take a smell and ask it to give you a color. You could take a color and ask for it to give you a word or a song lyric that goes with it. You could take a picture and ask it to pair with sound. So we can always be interacting with energy and asking it to give us more. And I think the key is surrendering to what it gives you, if you will. So if I'm like, well, what does this mean? I could get into the brainwave states, but if I'm like, what does this mean? And then I start to squeeze for it, I start to go into my thinking mind, and then I lose it, versus, okay, I'm open to what else this is trying to tell me. And then, can you give me a song lyric paired with this? Maybe you don't hear it during meditation, but you get up out of your chair and you can't get the song "I Love Rock and Roll" out of your head. And then you go and you look at the lyrics, and the lyrics make sense for whatever it is that you were just asking about.
Yes, that's happened to me with song lyrics, with a very intense situation I was dealing with. Everything I needed came through song, and it was just that. Yeah. For anyone who gets stuck in the thinking mind, because it happens to so many of us, I mean, we're only human with brains. Do you have any personal practices or things that you do to try to drop back into your intuitive body and kind of quiet that thinking mind?
Absolutely. So I'm going to give you a quick, do we have time? Like I'll give you a quick little anatomy of the mind, or the brain waves and how it works.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
So it's so funny. I'm teaching this in Spark right now. And it's so funny because people are like, high beta, I'm in high beta right now. It's just kind of like fun to hear. So when we look at intuition, in our brain, we have our brainwave states. They have different brainwave states. We have higher brainwave states where the brainwaves are moving at a faster rate, and then we have lower brainwave states. When you're developing, when you're a baby, you're in a delta brainwave state, which is a deep sleep state. That's the state that you're in technically from like 0 to like 2-ish years of age. I think it's less than 2, but give or take some time. So all that your brain is doing is absorbing information. And I think it's beautiful that I call it Gus, God, universe, spirit created us in this way, because we need to take in all of this information and just be absorbing it to go, how does the world work and how do I function here? I'm this little like nugget that came from, outer space. How do I function here? So our brain's just taking information in. Then we have, as we shift into, like around 2 to 5, 2 to 6 years old, we're in more of a theta brainwave state. And so this is being in this state of imagination, right? You look at a little 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, they're always imagining, they're playing all of the time. They're playing with imaginary friends, and they're very intuitive. Like when we look at kids are so intuitive. They're so in tune with energy. All children are. They feel things, they take things on for other people. Their bodies are telling them certain things. We don't always pick up on the message. Then as we move from 6 to about 5, 6 to 8 years old, we're in more of an alpha brainwave state. And an alpha brainwave state is we've got a foot in both worlds. If you've ever been around like a 6, 7, 8-year-old, they're starting to have some logic. They're starting to mature. They're starting to think in different ways, and school kind of aligns with that. Now, this is like an adult's, a light meditative state. They're still connected to their intuition, right? But they're also starting to develop some of that logic. Well, once we hit 8 years old, we have access to beta brainwave states, which is logic, patterning. It's a thinking mindset. It's not very connected to intuition. When we go into a trauma response, or we are in overthinking and overdrive, we go into a high beta state, which is putting our mind and brain into us and our bodies into a place of this heightened alertness. What often happens with intuition is that it slips in. We are naturally throughout our days moving into alpha, theta, delta, delta more so when you're sleeping, if you go into deep sleep. So your brain is always moving into and out of these brainwave states. When you're scrolling your phone on Instagram, you're in more of an alpha or a theta, probably alpha state. You're kind of zoned out. You're not thinking. You're just receiving what's happening. So when you go into meditation, you can go into more of an alpha or a theta state. When you're in the shower and you're just washing your body and not even thinking about it, you're in probably more of an alpha state. That's the state where we have access to intuition. And so oftentimes people want to tap their intuition when they're in that high beta state, because they're freaking out going, well, what do I do? What's the answer? And you can't receive intuition from that place. And so think about when people, and this can be really triggering for somebody who's in that state of hyperarousal, to say, take a deep breath, just calm down and take a deep breath. It's like, F you, I can't do that. Right. So what we have to do is I don't want to say get ourselves out of that state. Sometimes we need to feel whatever's coming up, cry it out, move it, yell, scream into a pillow, as long as we're keeping ourselves and others safe, right? We need to experience what's coming up. But I would say is, in the moment when you're thinking, I need to know the answer, that's your cue to be like, I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to get out in nature. Do something to calm your nervous system down, because that is the place where you can actually receive and perceive subtle energy and intuition and what spirit's wanting to communicate with you. To me, actually being in a high beta state, or in that like state of hyper arousal or thinking, or the body's experiencing an emotion, to me, I think it's bodily intuition, because that's what I call it. It's my body's telling me something is off. I'm believing something that's not serving me, or whatever it may be. And to me, I go, okay, great. This is showing me where a belief is, or an emotion, or something I need to work with. So instead of being like, avoid high beta, I'm like, ooh, healing opportunity. Great. Let me see what's here. Let me mark this. Maybe I'm going to work on it with my therapist or my coach, or I'm going to do some self-work. I'm going to journal. So I see it as just as valuable, just in a different way. It's showing, to me, that is showing me where I think I'm separate from Gus, if you will, where I am not believing that I am divine. So what I would say is, if you're in a place where you're wanting to learn to connect with your intuition more, start to put activities into your day where you are physically walking. Sometimes I'll go on a drive if I want to connect with my intuition, and I'll go somewhere that I've been a million times so that my brain can slip into some automaticity. And then also when you go into that fight or flight state, use that as a place for curiosity to be able to say something's coming up here that I'm needing to work on, what thoughts are running through my head, etc. And you can mark those down for yourself to explore further. So
love that.
A lot of people can't access in the beginning. I couldn't, at least for sure, intuition through meditation. Like that wasn't an easy place for me to start, but I would go on runs. And when I would run, I would get, connected aside from like having these crazy experiences with like my dead grandma sitting on my bed talking to me, like other than that, it was like, okay, now what? Because I'm supposed to be a successful speech therapist and I'm miserable doing what I'm doing and I don't know how to change it, So it's like, okay, well, where can I access it? Well, running, runner's high, that's a place where I can do it. Or bike riding. I think bike riding, my body knows what it's doing and it's my subconscious mind is distracted. So I can hear what's coming in.
Totally. I love that you mentioned that. Running is a big one for me, where I got a lot of intuitive downloads, and then driving too, like going for at least like 40, 45 minutes. Usually I have to be kind of like headed somewhere, maybe not even, might even be 20 minutes depending where I am. But it's just like a stream of it.
Totally.
But meditation, it is really hard at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's only probably been the last 2 years that I can actually consciously tune in. I think our body is always trying to bring us back into connection and harmony with spirit, to remember that we're divine. And so again, I feel like even when we're in a state of overdrive, it's showing us where our trauma is. So I'm like, thank you, body, for showing me where this trauma is. And then I'll ask my intuition, I'll say, show me the people or the tools that can help me to heal this so I can come back into wholeness. And then maybe I run across a new therapist or a EFT practitioner or something that's going to, when I'm no longer in that space of freak out mode, because I don't try to figure it out when I'm there. I just say, show me, spirit, show me the way when I'm ready. And it will always show up, the next step will show up. And I think that's the thing about intuition too, is if we look at the human design chart, we are meant to use our mind center to ask questions and put new potentials into the field. So I will ask a question of my intuition, and then I'll calibrate my emotions into expectancy. So let's say, for example, I'm struggling with relationship and connection and like heart-based connection with people because I have a lot of wounding around that. I might say, how can I develop a loving relationship with myself and compassion with myself as I move back out into the dating field? Something like that. Show me the people who can support me in healing this. And then I'll come into this place of gratitude, and then I'll see who shows up in my life. And I'm like, oh, that's the person that I'm going to connect with, or whatever it may be.
So beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of connecting, where can people connect with you to learn from you, follow your journey and whatnot?
Yeah, I would say you could head over to jessbubbico.com, or you can head over, I would go over to Instagram first and foremost, Jess Bubbico on Instagram. I'm going to have some classes and such coming up in the fall, but I have, for a lot of my classes, we use volunteers for readings and such. So it's a really great way to get a taste for the work and also have an opportunity to receive from one of our practitioners.
I love that. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I could honestly go on for probably like 4 more hours. We might have to do a couple more.
Yeah.
But to close out, I end all my episodes with some loving your own soul questions, which are just some fun on the spot questions to get to know you at some different levels. Okay. First question. We know you're an Aries sun. Do you know your moon and rising sign astrologically?
Yes. I'm a Libra moon and an Aquarius rising.
Oh, cool. Fun combo. What is your north node by chance? Do you know?
Oh my God. I don't know. I want to say Virgo.
Okay.
Maybe.
I could see that.
I'm unsure.
Cool. No problem. We'll have to look it up after.
One of my nodes is a Virgo, but I'm unsure if it's north or south. So
north or south. Interesting. Yeah. I have a Leo south node. So
cool.
Yeah. If you were a fruit, what type of fruit do you think you would be?
Oh my God. I want to say pineapple, but I feel like that's because that's what you just said. The other thing that was coming to me was a banana, and I don't really know why I would be a banana, but it feels right. So I'm going to go with it.
Yellow. Maybe
I think
something with
it's
your
the
solar
yellow.
plexus in there. Yeah.
Totally.
Love that. Do you have a favorite age thus far in your life?
Oh my gosh. Do I have a favorite age? There's a couple of them. The two that are coming to mind is 17, because I like fell in love with my high school boyfriend at 17 and we just had like the best time of all times. Yeah, so that's the first one that's coming. And then the other one is 20. I was a junior in college and it was just the most fun time. So those are my two faves. And I've loved, obviously evolving past that, but there's something about the innocence of those ages as well, where it's like all things were possible. So, and they still are, but I don't know, there's just this innocence. You just doesn't necessarily come back in that exact same way. So,
yeah, I feel that.
yeah.
Do you prefer sunshine, rain, or snow?
Sunshine all day long.
Yeah, definitely. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Yeah. What do you love about the sunset?
It closes out the day. Like it puts this bookend at the end of the day. Although I go to the beach for sunrise and sunset every day. So I'm like, it's a little hard to tell, but if I had to choose one, I'd say sunset, because it feels like it closes out the day.
Yeah. I worship the sun myself, both sunrise and sunset. It's such a special time of day.
Yeah.
Do you sing in the shower or sing in the car?
Oh my gosh, neither. I need to start doing that.
Cool. I love that you said neither.
I sing in my head. I sing at gym class. I go to HIIT classes with my roommate in the morning, and I sing because it distracts me from what I'm doing. So I'm going to say at the gym, and probably I think no one can hear me, but I think they probably all can. So
that is so fun. Do you have an open or closed throat center?
It's defined.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? Is yours open or
open?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. So fun. What was one of the craziest things you've dreamed about? We were talking about dreams earlier.
Oh my gosh. The only one that's popping out to me, I'm like, I should not say this on this podcast in the event that this person listens to this. I'm going to say it anyways. I had a dream I always have dreams about cars. And it was really interesting because my ex-boyfriend, he and I dated for about 7 years, and he was like the love of my life. And, at the time we were the love of each other's lives, like young love, just like fun. And I've had recurring dreams about him for a while. And it was really interesting because they would always be different and they would change over time as different things were happening in life. And I finally had this dream about him the other day where I had a red Corvette and he was sitting in the car and he was driving it and he was so happy and he was having the time of his life. And it was this, after we had Dream Oracle Holly on my mastermind. And it was this like, he's doing his thing. He's happy. I was happy for him. I was happy. And it was like this really weird tying of a bow on the end of an energetic era. So if you're listening, hey, but that was my probably most, I don't want to say it wasn't a prophetic dream, but it was just a really cool healing and closing of something.
It feels that way. I was feeling closure, especially with like driving the car. You're happy, like for sure.
And it was just really cool because we danced in our dreams. You know what I mean? Like so it was really cool to see that chapter just, close out.
Yeah. So the dream world is so interesting.
So cool.
Yeah. Final question, when did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
My gosh, I'm going to be talking about this ex-boyfriend a lot today. It's so funny. We broke up in 2012 and I bought this journal. And I wrote in this journal, I don't know, and 2012 is a major year in terms for, astrologically and stuff. And I bought this journey and I wrote in this journey, like, this journal. It was like, this journal marks the beginning of my journey into myself. And from there, I would go on Pinterest at the time and I would write out quotes from Pinterest that spoke to me, and I would inspire myself. And I kept journals. I probably have filled out since 2012 a solid like 50 to 70 journals. Like I just, that marked the very beginning of something for me. So
Wow. I love that. Journaling is so powerful. 2012 was a very powerful year, but
totally.
Yeah, I love looking back at the things we write about, or like that we, write into fruition, or just even like I was looking back at some of my old, even like Instagram posts and things I was writing. Like I was talking about just all these things that I was like, why was I talking about that 8 years ago? Like I'm very aware and like know it all now, but I'm like, who was that person? Where was that coming from? But to kind of like circle back, that is like our true nature of our soul, our intuition, and just that truth of who we are.
Totally. Yes. And again, I think we know, and sometimes your first step is just going to be, I feel like I need to buy this journal and write this thing in it. And I know that's the first step, and I don't need to know any more than that. That is just the direction I need to head in. And that's enough. That's sometimes we don't always have to know how to connect with our guides and our, connect with our Akashic record, or, interpret our dreams. We just need to follow that first step that our body and our mind and our spirit's calling us towards.
Well, Jess, thank you so much for this conversation. This was truly just so wonderful. I so loved connecting with you, and I really cannot wait to just continue this connection and journey together.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel the same way.
All right. How much fun was that? I mean, isn't Jess just so magnetic? Oh, I love her. I'm so grateful that we connected, and I personally really look forward to continue learning from her as well. She is just such a wealth of knowledge and inspiration, and I really feel we could all just expand ourselves simply from being around her, which is fun. And last but not least, as always, if you feel inspired and enjoyed today's conversation, I would be honored to have you rate and review the show. Your ratings and reviews mean so much to me and our wonderful guests, and in return, they really help me to grow the show and continue bringing on more incredible individuals. And as well, to that point, be sure to drop in on Instagram and say hi. Let me know what you're enjoying about the show, or if you have any topic recommendations, guest recommendations. You can find me at the Britt Olson. And yeah, I just love connecting with all of you. So please do not be shy. Please say hi. We have such a special community here. And to that point too, I would also love to invite you to join our private Modern Wellness Community Facebook group. We've got a lot of fun conversations and information happening there privately too. So thank you again for tuning in, being a part of this community. Thank you, Jess, for holding space with us. And I so look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.